Book Part 5. Bali is not India. Santo Saba works. Books in sound format are made on the basis of academic studies and studies as a scientific discourse. In an effort to restore the true history of Indonesia. Sattva is the essence of everything which has the nature of light and light, and so often gives rise to all things pleasant. It has a mild nature, gives rise to upward movements and forms of pleasure such as contentment, delight. Rajas Rajasika. Derived from the word Raj, which means to control. Rajas also means shine. With regard to the word Rajas, it means the nature which is the driving force of all objects in this universe. For living things it means the nature that gives the power to do something or the power that causes the being active in his life. Rajas is an activity expressed as raga di visa, namely like it or not, love or hate, attract or disgust. Rajas is the driving element for sattva and nama tamas. It also moves things. We cannot observe this tri-use with senses. Its existence is concluded on the object of this world which is the result of it. Due to the similarity in principle between effect and cause, we can know the properties of the use from nature which is the result of it. All the objects of this world have three characteristics, namely characteristics that give rise to pleasure, difficulty and neutrality. Bird song pleases an artist, troubles the sick, does nothing to an indifferent person. Since all these qualities are the result of a cause, they must be contained in that cause. Thus these qualities are contained in sattva, rajas and tama. Sattva is a prakrti which is the realm of light pleasure, which is luminous. It is in the form of awareness of the light nature which causes upward movement, wind and water in the air and all forms of pleasure such as contentment, joy and so on. Rajas is the element of motion in these objects. It is always in motion and causes these things to move. It is he who sets the fire blazing, the wind blows, the mind wanders here and there. It is he who engages the sattva and tamas to carry out their duties. Tamas is an element that causes something to be passive and negative in nature. It is violent, opposes the activity of holding back the movement of the mind so that it causes darkness, ignorance that leads to confusion. Because opposing activities causes people to become lazy, indifferent, sleep. Such is the nature of the triguna nature. Because this world is formed from the triguna itself, we see that in this world there is always conflict and cooperation in unity. Tri-guna as the principle of Samkhya doctrine. These three guns are always together and never separate from each other. There cannot be only one of them to build the things of this world. The cooperation of the three uses is like oil, wick and fire which together cause the existence of a lamp, even though each of these elements is different and has a contradictory nature. The third purpose changes continuously. There are two changes in the form of the tri-use. In pralaya time each uses itself, without disturbing the other. Changes like this are called swarapaparinama. At that time there could be no creation, because there was no cooperation between the uses. But when one use overcomes the other, a creation takes place. This change is called Virapaparinama. In other words, the uses for one another complement each other. By influencing each other, creation will occur. When in pralaya, there cannot be between one use and another. They are mutually exclusive, so there is no possibility of creation. Key conclusions of the Samkhya doctrine. So the Samkhya philosophical system is called the Nir-Isvara Samkhya or the godless Samkhya. Namely not believing in a god or Isvara, so that it is atheist. Creation comes from a self-existing practice and has nothing to do with the particular Purusa that made it. Therefore, followers of the Samkhya philosophical system claim that there is no need for an intelligent creator or even a single power to overcome him, which is clearly against the Vedanta philosophical system. Samkhya accepted the theory of expansion and contraction, in which cause and effect are undeveloped states and developments of the same substance. In this system there is no such thing as total annihilation, because in destruction, the result is carried away to be the cause, so that is all. So the central picture of Samkhya philosophy is that the effect actually existed before in the cause, like the whole existence of the trees in a dormant state or sleeping in a seed, likewise the whole universe is in a state of sleep in practice, namely avyakta, undeveloped, or avyakta, indistinguishable. The result does not differ from the material in which it is composed. The original teachings of the archipelago that were forced to change were called Hindu. Indonesian philosophy is the general term for the philosophical tradition carried out by the people who inhabit the area which was later called Indonesia. Indonesian philosophy is expressed in various living languages and is still spoken in Indonesia, around 587 languages, and the unified language of Indonesian, covering various schools of thought that have received both Eastern and Western influences, in addition to its original philosophical themes. As seen in the original concepts and practices of Mupakat, poetry, Pancasila, customary law, mutual cooperation, and kinship. Indonesian philosophy is as the cultural wealth of our own nation, contained in its own culture, thoughts, which are encapsulated in local customs and culture, as primordial thoughts, or patterns thought the foundation that structures the entire building of cultural works. After Indonesia became independent from Dutch colonialism, only monotheistic religion was officially recognized. Furthermore, Indonesia requires a person to have a religion to obtain full Indonesian citizenship rights, and officially Indonesia does not recognize the indigenous beliefs or traditions of the archipelago. In 1952, the Indonesian Ministry of Religion declared Bali and other islands adhering to the indigenous teachings of the archipelago by naming their traditions or beliefs with the name Hinduism. The local government of Bali, shocked by this official national policy, declared itself an autonomous religious area by distinguishing the original Balinese beliefs from Indian Hinduism, namely Balinese Hinduism, in 1953. The Balinese government also contacted the government of India and former Dutch colonial officials for diplomatic support and human rights. A series of student and cultural exchange initiatives between Bali and India helped formulate the core principles behind Balinese Hinduism, Katar Veda, Upanishad, Purana, Itihasa. In particular, the movement for socio-political fate in Bali in the mid-1950s led to a nonviolent passive resistance movement and a 1958 joint plea demanding that the Indonesian government recognize Balinese teachings under the name Hindu Dharma. This joint petition quotes the following Sanskrit mantra from Hindu scriptures. The focus of the petition on the undivided is to fulfill the constitutional requirement that Indonesian citizens have a monotheistic belief in one God. The petitioner identified Ida Sanghyang Widiwasa as undivided, divine absolute cosmic law. In Balinese, this term has two meanings: Lord of the universe and Om Tat Sat Ekam Eva Advitiyam. Translation: Om. That is the essence of all that is, infinite, undivided. Joint application by Balinese Hindus, the 14th of June 1958. This creative expression fulfills the monotheistic requirements of the Indonesian Ministry of Religion in the previous sense, while the latter means retaining the central notion of Dharma in the ancient text. This is the original Dharmic, the original teachings of the archipelago that are stored in Bali and reflected on archipelago sites that existed before Hinduism was born in India, as well as state decisions as above. In 1959, Indonesian President Sukarno supported the petition and the Hindu Bali Affairs section was officially launched at the Ministry of Religion. Indonesian politics and religious affairs experienced turmoil from 1959 to 1962, with Sukarno dissolving the Constituent Assembly and weakening the impact of the communist movement on Indonesia alongside political Islam. However, they officially identified their religion as Hindu because Hinduism was not a legal possibility for Indonesians until 1962, when it became the religion to be recognized as the fifth religion. This recognition was initially needed by religious organizations in Bali and was needed for the benefit of the Balinese religious existence, which was recognized by the government, where the majority of local indigenous people changed their name to Hindu. Between 1966 and 1980, along with Balinese Hindus, a large number of Indonesians in East Java, as well as parts of South Sulawesi, North Sumatra, Central and South Kalimantan who adhered to local teachings or the teachings of the indigenous beliefs of the archipelago officially declared themselves Hindus, following his brother in Bali to be recognized by the government. This is the original Dharmic, the original teachings of the archipelago stored in Bali and reflected on archipelago sites that existed before Hindus were born in India as well as the state's decision. They are politically organized themselves to suppress and defend their rights. The largest organization, Parisada Hindu Dharma Bali, changed its name to Parisada Hindu Dharma Indonesia, PHDI, in 1986, reflecting attempts to define Hinduism as a national concern and not just Balinese. While Hindus in Bali, with their majority, develop and freely practice their religion, on other islands in Indonesia they experience discrimination by local officials because people who still adhere to local teachings, namely the original teachings of the archipelago, are considered to be people who have left Islam, the religion of the majority. However, Indonesia's central government supports people who name their teachings after Hinduism. In the 1960s, Hinduism was an umbrella that was also used by Indonesians adhering to Buddhism and Confucianism, at a time when they were not yet considered officially religions. Furthermore, Hindu political activists in Indonesia work to protect people of that belief with the rights they have earned at the Indonesian Ministry of Religion. In order to gain official acceptance and their rights in a predominantly Muslim country, Hinduism in Indonesia is forced politically to adapt. Today Hindu Dharma is one of the 5 officially recognized monotheistic religions in Indonesia. Local or indigenous religions that have continued to adhere to and have a deep concern for the preservation of their traditional ancestral religions state and name the teachings that they embrace should be called Hinduism, considering that this is a more flexible choice than Islam. People who still adhere to the original teachings outside the island of Bali. This is the original Dharmak, the original teachings of the archipelago that are stored in Bali as well as the islands in the Indonesian archipelago and are depicted on archipelago sites that existed before Hinduism was born in India. In the early 70s, the indigenous Torajan people from Sulawesi were the first to realize this opportunity by seeking protection for the religion of their native ancestors under the umbrella of a religion called Hindu, followed by Karo Batak from Sumatra in 1977. In South Kalimantan, a movement naming their teachings after Hindu names has developed among the indigenous Dayak natives who were declared on the island in 1980. However, this is different from the case of the Javanese, as the conversion followed clear ethnic divisions. The indigenous Dayak people are exposed to a population of migrants and government officials sponsored by the government and predominantly Madurs. Compared to their peers among adherents of indigenous Javanese teachings, many Dayak leaders also paid more attention to Balinese efforts to standardize Hindu ritual practices nationally, fear of the decline of their own distinctive and unique Kaharingan tradition and new external domination. On the other hand, most Javanese were slow to perceive and change their name to Hindu at the time, lacking distinct organization along ethnic lines and fearing retribution from powerful local Islamic organizations such as Nahdlatul Ulama, NU. Suharto's socio-political policies during his presidency from 1966 to, finally collapsing, in 1998. Their main concern was political philosophy, whose main mission was to find alternatives to the corrupt regime. It was this school that dared to challenge Suharto, after he succeeded in silencing all philosophers through violence. Prior to the emergence of this mazhab, there were several people who tried to fight Suharto in the 1970s, but they were beaten hard in incidents which are known in history as the 1973 ITB Bandung incident and the 1974 Malari incident. Since that practice of violence, philosophy can only be practiced in utopia, praxis and intellect separated from philosophy. Praxis is forbidden, and only reason may survive. The Suharto era, in philosophical terms, can be referred to as the opium of philosophy, where all kinds and all schools of philosophy can live but cannot be practiced in reality. Philosophy only becomes academic practice, and is subdued. Pancasila was the only ideology and philosophy of the era, of course. Pancasila interpreted according to Suharto's interests, not Pancasila BPUPKI 1945, Hidayat 2004-49-55. In the vicious circle of the Suharto regime came the braves who would break the chains of that circle, and they are referred to here as post-Suharto philosophers. Several indigenous tribes with beliefs such as the Sundanese Wiwitan, Toraja Alak Todolo, and Batak Malam, with their own unique indigenous teachings and beliefs, have declared themselves to be people who name Hinduism in order to obey Indonesian law, while preserving traditions that different from mainstream Indonesian Hinduism, which is dominated by Balinese. These political factors and activities have brought about a revival of Hinduism beyond Balinese fortifications. Common beliefs and practices of the Hindu Dharma religion are a mixture of indigenous Balinese traditions and the result of a contemporary blend adopted by Indonesian law that allows only monotheistic beliefs based in the five-precept national ideology. Traditionally, the indigenous local teachings of the archipelago in Indonesia have had a divine rank, and the belief tradition continues. Furthermore, local teachings that have become Hindu in Indonesia give freedom and flexibility to Hindus as to when, how and where to worship in performing their rituals. The belief in one supreme being is called Ida Sanghyang Widai Wasa, Sanghyang Tunggal, or Sanghyang Asintya. God Almighty in the Toraja culture of Central Sulawesi is known as Puang Matua, in Alak Ferdolo belief. The native religion of the archipelago. The indigenous religion of the archipelago is a traditional religion that existed before Islam, Catholic Christianity, Protestant Christianity, Hinduism, Buddhism, Confucianism entered the archipelago, Indonesia. All the original teachings of the archipelago are based in the teachings of the archipelago's ancestors, Dharma or original Dharmic, which in the past were brought by the ancestors of the Indonesian archipelago. The Saka people were almost 3/4 of the earth, and grew up in India into a teaching named Buddha Jaina, also Hindu. In India, the fusion or diffusion of philosophies continued with the arrival of the Brahmins and Buddhists from India between 322 BC 700 AD. Original Dharmic recorded perfectly until now in Bali and depicted in Borobudur. In the past, the ancestors of the Indonesian archipelago, the Saka, were almost 3/4 of the face of the earth, and grew up in India into a teaching named Buddha Jaina, also Hindu. Rabindranath Tagore, an Indian philosopher who visited Borobudur for the first time, recognized the temple as a non-Indian temple, because the relics engraved on it represented local workers dressed in authentic Javanese style. He also admits that the original Javanese dances inspired by Indian epics do not resemble Indian dances, even though the dances of the two countries originate from the same source. Konghucu and Buddhism, two opposing philosophies in India, together with the original Javanese philosophy, could be reconciled in Indonesia by the geniuses Sambara Suryawarana, Mpu Prapanka, and Mpu Tantalar. This is the original Dharmic teachings of the archipelago, which were recorded in the teachings on the Indonesian archipelago. List of the original teachings or religions of the archipelago. 1. Balinese religion, more commonly referred to as Hindu Bali or Hindu Dharma. 2. Alak Todolo, Tanah Toraja. 3. Sunda Wiwitan Kanix, Banten. 4. Javanese Sundanese religion, Kuningan, West Java. 5. Buhun, West Java. 6. Kejawan, Central Java and East Java. 7. Parmalime, North Sumatra. 8. Kaharingan, Kalimantan. 9. Tonas Walian, Minahasa, North Sulawesi. 10. Talatang, South Sulawesi. 11. Witu Telu, Lombok. 12. Norris, Saram Island, Maluku. 13. Mulahadi Nabalon Flow. 14. Marapu, Sumba. 15. Purwaduksino. 16. Budi Luhur. 17. Pakampetan. 18. Bolim. 19. Basora. 20. Samawi. 21. Sernagali. 22. Kota Kiran Adanara Island, Flotim, NTT. Balinese religion. Often called Balinese Hinduism, it is also called the Hindu Dharma religion or Tirtha religion, the religion of holy water, a form of religion which is generally practiced by the majority of Balinese tribes. Asintya is the great god in Balinese society whose teachings have been named Balinese Hinduism. There is nothing in Hinduism in India. This is what really distinguishes Hinduism in Bali, not from India. Balinese religion is a syncretism, amalgamation, a belief in Saiva, Vaishnava, and Brahma with other beliefs from outside Bali. The oldest known relics in Indonesia related to the original Balinese religion are the Ganesha and Shiva statues found on the island of Panaitan, the Shiva statue found in Bejulu, Gianyar. The four caste groups resulting from the influence of Indian Hinduism in Bali, which became known as the term Kadarwarna, are not the original teachings of Bali, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaisya, and Sudra. In the discussion later we will understand them. Balinese people have their own calendar system which is different from the Hindu calendar system in India and Nepal. Religious holidays for Balinese are generally calculated based on Wiwaran and Pawukan, a combination of Pankawara, Saptawara, and Wuku. However, there are also holidays that use the Saka calendar from India. That is the calculation of the Saka year which must also be clarified. Because the calculation of the beginning of the Saka year began in 78 AD, even though the ancestors of the Indonesian nation already existed and had a history before that year. Hari Raya based on Wiwaran. Galungan, fall on. Buddha, Klawan, Dungulan Kuningan, fall on. Sanaskara, Klawan, Kuningan Saraswati, fall on. Sanaskara. Humanus, Watugunang. Science Day, worship of Sang Hyang Aji Saraswati. Banyupanaru, fall on. Reddit, Pahing, Shinta. Pagerwasi. Hari Raya based in the Saka, Siwaratri, Nipi, calendar. Otonan is a ceremony performed on birthdays, such as birthday celebrations, carried out for 210 days. Tooth cutting ceremony is a religious ceremony that must be carried out for its adherents. This ceremony is carried out for adolescents or adults, for women who have experienced menstruation, and for men who have entered puberty. Naban ceremony is a procession for the funeral procession. This ceremony is an effort to speed up the return of the elements, substances that form the body, watig, gross human body. There are 4 main lontars that indicate the existence of the Pitra Yadnya ceremony. Namely Yama Purwa Tadwa, regarding the offerings used, Yama Purana Tadwa, regarding the philosophy of liberation or the search for Atma and the good and bad days of carrying out the ceremony, Yama Purwana Tadwa, regarding the schedule of events and the form of Rarajahan Kajong, and Yama Tadwa, regarding the forms of buildings or means of ceremony. The original teachings of the archipelago, especially the teachings and philosophy of religion in Bali, are original Balinese culture, not a culture based outside of Bali, especially not the culture of India. All that is mentioned above are things that are not found in India. Alak Totolo, Tanah Toraja, South Sulawesi. South Sulawesi has 4 main ethnic groups. The Bugis, including shipbuilders and sailors, the Makassaris, traders and sailors, the Mandar, traders, shipbuilders and sailors, and the Toraja, upland farmers. The word Toraja comes from the Bugis language, Turiaha, which means, those who live in the land above. The Toraja tribe is famous for its funeral rituals, traditional Tongkanan houses and wood carvings. The Toraja funeral ritual is an important social event, usually attended by hundreds of people and lasting several days. The traditional belief system of the Toraja tribe is the indigenous belief of the local area from their previous ancestors called Alak, or Jalan. Sometimes translated as law. In Toraja myth, the ancestors of the Toraja people came from heaven by using a ladder which was later used by the Toraja tribe as a way of relating to Puang Matua, the god of creation. The universe, according to Alak culture, is divided into the upper world, heaven, the human world, earth, and the underworld. At first, heaven and earth married and produced darkness, separation, and then light appeared. Animals live in the underworld, which is represented by a rectangular space bounded by 4 pillars. The earth is a place for mankind, and heaven is located above, covered with a saddle-shaped roof. Other Toraja gods are Pong Bangai di Ronte, god of the earth, Indo. Ongan Ongan, goddess of earthquakes, Pong Lalandong, god of death, Indo. Belo Tumbang, goddess of medicine, and others. The power on earth whose words and actions must be held both in agricultural life and in funeral rites, is called Tamina, an Alak priest. Alak is not only a belief system, but also a combination of law, religion and habits. Alak regulates social life, agricultural practices, and religious rituals. Alak procedures can differ from one village to another. One common law is the rule that the rituals of death and life must be separated. The Toraja people believe that the ritual of death will destroy the corpse if its implementation is combined with the ritual of life. The 2 rituals are equally important. In Toraja society, the funeral ceremony is the most important ritual. The funeral feast of a nobleman was usually attended by hundreds of people and lasted several days. A place for the procession. A carved burial place for Toraja. Burials called rante are usually prepared in a wide meadow, apart from being a place for mourners who are present, as well as a place for a rice granary, and various other funeral devices made by the family that was left behind. Flute music, songs and poetry, crying and lamentation are expressions of grief carried out by the Toraja tribe. The Torajans believe that death is not something that comes suddenly but is a gradual process towards Puya, the world of spirits, or the hereafter. During the waiting period, the corpse was wrapped in several pieces of cloth and stored under the tongkanan. The spirits of the dead are believed to remain in the village until the funeral service is over, after which the spirits will travel to Puya. Another part of the funeral is the buffalo slaughter. Slaughtering is done using a machete. The buffalo, including its head, were lined up in the field, waiting for its owner, who was in sleep. The Torajans believe that the spirit needs a buffalo to perform a grave journey, and it will be faster to reach Puya if there are many buffaloes. The slaughter of dozens of buffalo and hundreds of pigs is the culmination of a funeral ceremony accompanied by music and dance of the young men who catch the spurting blood with long bamboo. Some of the meat is given to the guests and recorded because it will be considered a debt to the family of the deceased. There are 3 ways of burial. Coffins can be stored in a cave, or in a carved stone tomb, or hung from a cliff. The rich were sometimes buried in carved stone tombs. These tombs were usually expensive and took several months to construct. In some areas, stone caves are used to store the bodies of all family members. A wooden statue called a tau tau is usually placed in a cave facing outwards. The coffins of babies or children are hung by rope by the side of the cliff. The rope usually lasts for a year before rotting and causing the chest to fall off. Consciously or unconsciously, Toraja people live and grow in a society that adheres to the Tao philosophy. The philosophy of Tao is needed as a guide and direction to become human. Human equals Tao, in Toraja language, in the context of Toraja society. The philosophy of Tao has 4 main pillars that require every Toraja society to achieve it, among others: Suji, Kaya Barana, brave, Manarang, smart, Kanawa, having noble, religious, wise values. The 4 pillars above cannot be interpreted freely because it has a deeper meaning than free understanding of the word. A Toraja becomes a real human when he has and lives as a Tao. In 1965, a presidential decree required all Indonesians to follow one of the 5 recognized religions: Islam, Protestant Christianity, Catholicism, Hinduism and Buddhism. Alak Todolo is the religion of the ancestors of the Toraja tribe, which is still practiced by a large number of Toraja people. In 1970, Alak Todolo was protected by the state and officially accepted into the Hindu Balinese sect. In its development, Alak Todolo is considered to be heavily influenced by the teachings of Confucian life and Hinduism. Therefore, Alak Todolo is a dynamic polytheistic belief. The native Torajan belief, Alak, is not legally recognized, and the Torajans have tried to oppose the decree. In order to make Alak according to law, it must be accepted as part of one of the official religions. In 1969, Alak Todolo was legalized as part of the Hindu Dharma religion. Sunda Wiwitan. Sunda Wiwitan is a religion or belief adhered to by the traditional Sundanese people. The Sundanese Wiwitan religion also has an element of monotheism, that is, above the gods and hyangs in their pantheon there is a single supreme, almighty, intangible God called Sang Hyang Kursa, who is likened to God Almighty. Adherents of this teaching can be found in several villages in the provinces of Banten and West Java, such as in Kanix, Lebak, Banten, Siptajalar Kasepahan Banten Kidal, Sisalak, Sukabumi, Kampung Naga, Sureban, and Segugar, Kuningan. According to adherents, Sunda Wiwitan is a belief that was held for a long time by the Sundanese before the arrival of Hinduism and Islam. The teachings of Sundanese Wiwitan are contained in the book Sanghyang Siksakanda ng Karasian, a book originating from the era of the Sundanese kingdom which contains religious teachings and moral guidance, rules and moral lessons. This book is called Kropak 630 by the National Library of Indonesia. Based on the explanation of the Kokolot elders of the Chikuzik village, the Kanix people are not Hindus or Buddhists. Only in their development the Kanix beliefs have been entered by elements of Hindu teachings, and to some extent, Islamic teachings. Wawakan Salanyana. Wawakan Salanyana is an ancient Sundanese manuscript containing Sundanese mythology. The title of this manuscript means, the story of Salanyana. The word Wawakan means, reading. Meanwhile, the name Salanyana itself is the name of the main hero, the protector of the rice plants from the Gumarang cow attack, and the Kalabuatan Budug Basu wild boar, which symbolizes the pests that attack the rice plants. Wawakan Salanyana contains the traditional value of glorifying rice plants in the traditions of the Sundanese people. The mythology in Wawakan Salanyana tells of the mythology of the Sundanese gods, especially the story of the rice goddess Nyi Pahachi Sanghyang Asri. This manuscript also tells of the wealth and prosperity of the Sunda Pajajaran kingdom with its legendary king, Prabu Siliwangi. This manuscript describes the nature of Sundanese agricultural life. The origin of Wawakan Salanyana may be traced back to the oral tradition of the Sundanese Pantan, which is told by village storytellers from generation to generation. The creation of the universe, the highest god in the Sundanese Wiwitan belief, Sanghyang Kursa, the willing, is said to have created the world and other gods, such as Batari's son and Ambu, and Batara Guru in Netik, with the god Shiva Batara Guru reigning in heaven or Swargaloka as kings of the god. Sanghyang Kursa also created 7 Batara, demigod beings, who were sent down in Sasaka Pusaka Wana, holy place on earth. They ruled in various places in Sundanese land and gave birth to humans, especially the Sundanese. Dui Padi. In heaven, Batara Guru, who became the supreme ruler of the heavenly kingdom, ordered all the gods and goddesses to work together, to contribute energy to build a new palace in heaven. Anyone who disobeys this command is considered lazy, and will have his hands and feet cut off. Hearing Batara Guru's commandment, Antaboga Anta, the snake god, was very worried. Why not? He did not have hands and feet to work. Even if it had to be punished, only the neck could be cut, and that meant death. Anta was very scared, so he asked Batara Narada, Batara Guru's brother, for advice on the problems he was facing. But unfortunately, Batara Narada was confused and could not find a way to help the serpent god. Desperate, Dewa Anta wept bitterly, lamenting how bad his fate was. But when Anta's teardrop fell to the ground, miraculously 3 of her tears turned into a gem that shimmered like jewels. The granules are actually eggs that have a beautiful shell. Bharata Narada suggested that the gems be dedicated to Batara Guru as a form of request so that he would understand and forgive Anta's shortcomings, who could not work to build the palace. By sucking 3 mustika eggs in his mouth, Anta went to Batara Guru's palace. On the way, Anta met an eagle. There are several versions that mention a crow, who then greeted Anta and asked where he was going. Because his mouth is full of eggs, Anta is just silent, unable to answer the bird's question. The eagle thought Anta was arrogant, so he was very offended and angry. The bird attacked Anta, who was panicked, scared and confused. As a result, a mustika egg was broken. Anta immediately hid behind a bush waiting for the eagle to leave. But the eagle kept waiting until Anta came out of the grass and scratched Anta again. The second egg broke. Anta immediately crawled away, afraid to save herself. Now only 1 mustika egg that survived, intact and not broken. The 2 broken eggs fell to the earth and transformed into 2 wild boar, Kalabuat and Budug Basu. Then Kalabuat and Budug Basu were kept by the Gumarang cow. This cow is a miraculous incarnation due to a female cow accidentally drinking Idagil's demonic urine so that she becomes pregnant and gives birth to Gumarang cow. Finally, Anta arrived at Batara Guru's palace and immediately offered the mustika egg to the ruler of heaven. Batara Guru gladly accepted the mustika offering. However, after knowing that the mustika is a magic egg, Batara Guru ordered Anta to incubate the egg until it hatched. After a long time, Anta incubates the egg hatches. But miraculously, what came out of the egg was a baby girl who was very beautiful, cute, and adorable. The baby girl was immediately adopted by Batara Guru and his empress. Nyi Pahachi Sanghyang Shri is the name given to the princess. As time passed, Nyi Pahachi grew up to be an incredibly beautiful girl. A princess who is kind, gentle, refined in speech, noble in language, captivates all human beings. Every eye that looked at her, god or human, immediately fell in love with the goddess. Due to the beauty that defeated all the celestial maidens and goddesses, Batara Guru himself was attracted to his adopted son. Secretly Batara teacher, harboring a desire to marry Nyi Pahachi. Seeing the Batara Guru's attitude, the gods became worried that if they were allowed to do so, this scandal would destroy harmony in heaven. So the gods negotiated to arrange a strategy to separate Batara Guru and Nyi Pahachi Sanghyang Shri. To protect Nyi Pahachi's chastity, as well as to maintain harmony in the household of the ruler of heaven, the gods agreed that there was no other way but to kill Nyi Pahachi. The gods collected all kinds of poison, the most deadly poison, and immediately put it in the drink of the princess. Nyi Pahachi soon died of poisoning. The gods panicked and were terrified because they had committed a grave sin to kill an innocent holy girl. Immediately the goddess's body was brought down to earth and buried in a remote and hidden place. The disappearance of Dui Shri from heaven made Batara Guru, Anta, and all the gods grieve. However, something miraculous happened. Because of the goddess's purity and kindness, then from her grave appeared various plants which were very useful for mankind. From his head appeared a coconut tree. From his nose, lips, and ears sprang various aromatic herbs and vegetables. From her hair grew grass and various beautiful and fragrant flowers. From her breasts grew sweet and sweet fruits. From his arms and hands grew teak, sandalwood, and various useful trees. From his genitals appeared a palm or palm tree with sweet sap. From his thighs grow various types of bamboo plants. From his feet appeared various root crops and yams. Finally from his tomb came the rice plants, the most useful foodstuff for humans. Another version says white rice emerged from his right eye, while red rice appeared from his left eye. In short, all useful plants for humans came from the body of Dui Shri Pahachi. Since then the human race on the island of Java has worshipped, glorified, and loved the benevolent goddess, who with her lofty sacrifice had blessed the goodness of nature, fertility and the availability of food for humans. In the belief system of the ancient Sundanese kingdom, how to cook rice. In the Swargaloka kingdom, Batara Guru ordered Batara Isamaya to come down to earth in his form as Samar, to bring rice seeds to the Pajajaran kingdom as food for mankind. Batara Guru also sent his daughter Nawang Wulan, Aspara, to bring rice to humans. Nawang Wulan is one of the 7 nymphs who sometimes come down to earth to bathe in the clear pool. They came down to earth wearing colorful scarves that allowed them to fly and travel between earth and heaven. When they came down to earth, the 7 colors of their shawls formed 7 sheaves of rainbow colors. The story of Nawang Wulan can also be found in the Javanese fairy tale Yakatarab. Nawang Wulan came down to earth and married Prabu Siliwangi, the king of Pajajaran. Nawang Wulan magically cooks rice by putting a sprig of rice into a bamboo container and magically turns into cooked rice ready to eat. He kept the magic method of cooking rice a secret and ordered no one to approach and open his filter. Pendarangan is a kind of traditional cupboard in the kitchen where rice and cooking utensils are stored, traditionally considered to be the territory of the wife women. One day the king was curious about how to cook rice and peeked into the kitchen and finally learned the magic way to cook secret rice. Nawang Wulan. He then opened the Nawang Wulan list. Because the king had broken his oath not to approach the kitchen and open the pendarangan, the magic to cook rice failed, cancelled and could no longer be done by Nawang Wulan. Nawang Wulan then flew back to Swargaloka leaving Raja Siliwangi. Because of this Samar had to teach mankind how to cook rice, which was more complicated and time-consuming and labor-intensive. It is this traditional way of cooking rice that we can find today. Battle between Salanyana and Gumarang. Previously it was mentioned that the twin wild boar of Kalabuat and Budug Basu were born from broken eggs that came from Antiboga's tears, and these 2 eggs fell to earth. The 2 wild boars are raised by Gumarang cows. Gumarang is an evil male cow as a result of a cow drinking Idagil's demonic urine. That's why Gumarang's cow has an evil character. After growing up, Kalabuat and Budug Basu tried to find their sister and found the tomb of Nyi Pahachi Sanghyang Asri. They circled the tomb 7 times and then died on the grave of their sister. Meanwhile, Dampo Awang from the other side of the land came to the Sunda kingdom on his boat to buy rice. Because rice was considered sacred by the Sundanese people and was a gift from the gods, no one dared to sell it. Prabu Siliwangi refused to sell the rice deposits in the loot barn in his kingdom. Dampo Awang was angry and took revenge by persuading Sapi Gumarang to destroy rice crops in the Sundanese kingdom. The Gumarang cow took the corpses of Kalabuat and Budug Basu from Pahachi's grave and took them around the world. Miraculously, the corpses of Kalabuat and Budug Basu transformed into various animals: pigs, wild boars, mice, insects, and various types of rice plant pests. It is only natural for Kalabuat Budug Basu to unite with his sister by eating rice plants. For this reason, the Kalabuat and Budug Basu wild boar are considered to be manifestations of plant-destroying pests in Sundanese traditional beliefs. To protect the rice plants, Batara Guru ordered his son, Salanyana, who was raised by Dwi Pertiwi, to come to the Sundanese kingdom and fight Gumarang and the pests of Kalabuat boar and Budug Basu. In some stories, Salanyana is likened to the character Sadana, assisted by his twin sister to fight the Gumarang cow. They fought so hard that Salanyana finally defeated the Gumarang cow. Gumarang begged Salanyana to spare him and not kill him. Salanyana agrees, on the condition that in return for his life, Gumarang must help Salanyana look after and care for the rice plants. As his reward, Salanyana feeds Gumarang fern leaves. Gumarang cow eventually turned into a buffalo and helped Salanyana plow the fields to plant rice in the fields. Karita Parayangan. In Karita Parayangan, this belief is referred to as the teaching of Jatisunda. The highest power lies in Sang Hyang Kursa, the Almighty, or Nu Nursakyun, the Willing. He is also called Batara Tunggal, God Almighty, Batara Jagat, Lord of Nature, and Batara Sada Niskala, the Invisible. He resides in Wana Nyangkung. All gods Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Indra, Yama, etc., submit to Batara Sada Niskala. The name and mention of this god is native to the Indonesian archipelago, not from India. And not Hinduism. This existed before the birth of Hinduism in India. There are three kinds of nature in Sundanese Wiwitan beliefs, such as mythology and belief systems mentioned in the Pantan regarding the mythology of the Kanaks. 1. Wana Nyangkung. The place where Sang Hyang Kursa resides, which is at the top. 2. Wana Pangka Tenga. The dwelling place for humans and other creatures, it is located in the middle. 3. Wana Larang. Hell, it is located at the bottom. Between Wana Nyangkung and Wana Pangka Tenga, there are 18 natural layers arranged from top to bottom. The top layer is named Bumi Suki Alam Padang, or according to Kropak 630 is named Alam Kayangan or Mandala Hyang. The second highest realm is the realm where Nyi Pahachi Sanghyang Asri and Sunan Ambu live. Sang Hyang Kursa lowered 7 Batara at Sasaka Pusaka Wana. One of the 7 Batara is Batara Chikal, the oldest, who is considered the ancestor of the Kanaks people. Other descendants are Batara who rule in various other areas in the land of Sunda. The meaning of Narungkyun, lowering, Batara is not giving birth but creating or creating. The name and mention of this god is native to the Indonesian archipelago, not from India. Philosophy. The ideas or teachings of a religion always contain elements that are expressed and implied. The explicit elements are what is clearly stated as a pattern of life to be lived, while what is implied is a comprehensive understanding of the teaching. The teachings of Sundanese Wiwitan basically depart from 2 principles, namely the way of human character and the way of the nation. Human characteristics are the basic elements that exist in human life. There are 5 elements included in it. 1. Compassion. Love. 2. Undertake. Family order. 3. Manners. Order of behavior. 4. Budi language and culture. 5. Wiwaha Yuda Narada. Human nature is always fighting everything before doing it. If one other way of characterizing humans did not conform to this, then humans would certainly not have done so. The second principle is the national characteristics. Universally, all human beings do have the same in terms of human characteristics. However, there are certain things that differentiate humans from one another. In the Sundanese Wiwitan teachings, the differences between people are based in the characteristics of the nation, which consists of 1. Fine. 2. Custom. 3. Language. 4. Script. 5. Culture. These 2 principles are not clearly stated in the Sundanese Book of Wiwitan, which is called Siksa Kanda ing Karasian. But fundamentally, humans actually live their lives from what is implied. What is written can always be read and memorized. This does not guarantee that humans will live their lives from what is written. In fact, it is what is implied that can be a guide for humans in life. Initially, Sunda Wiwitan did not teach many taboos to its adherents. There are only two main taboos taught in Sundanese religion: that which others do not like and that which harms others, which can harm oneself. However, because of its development, to respect sacred and sacred places Kabuyutan, which is called Sasaka Pusaka Wana and Sasaka Domas, and to obey a series of rules regarding the tradition of farming and harvesting, Sundanese Wiwitan teachings recognize many prohibitions and taboos. Taboo, in the language of the Kanix people, is called Bayut, is mostly practiced by those who live in the core or the holiest area. They are known as the inner Badai. Tradition. In Sundanese Wiwitan teachings, the delivery of prayers is carried out through the singing of rhymes and songs and dance movements. This tradition can be seen from the rice harvest Thanksgiving ceremony and the New Year celebration, which is based in the Sundanese calendar known as the Sarantaun celebration. In various places in West Java, Sarantaun is always lively and is attended by thousands of people. Sarantaun celebrations can be found in several villages such as in Kanix, Lebak, Banten, Siptajalar Kasepahan Banten Kidal, Sisalak, Sukabumi, Kampung Naga, and Sagugar, Kuningan. In Sagugar, Kuningan itself, an area that still adheres to Sundanese culture, those who celebrate Sarantaun come from all over the country. Even though there has been inculturation and many Sundanese embracing religions outside Sunda Wiwitan, the understanding and customs that have been taught by this religion are still used as a guide in Sundanese life. Culturally, the Sundanese have not left this Sundanese religion. The holy place or place of worship that is considered sacred or sacred in the Sundanese Wiwitan religion is Pamanjungan or called Kabuyutan. Pamanjungan is a terraced pundan that is usually found on a hill, and in Pamanjungan there are usually menhirs, aka, senkuk stone, mangkok stone, flat stone and others. There are many Pamanjungan or Kabuyutan in Tatar Sunda such as Balay Pamujan Jenter Bumi, Senkuk site, Mount Padang, Kabuyutan Galangang, Kawali site etc. In Bogor itself, as the center for the Nagara Sunda and Pajajaran Nagara, there were many Pamanjungan, some of which are Pamanjungan Rankamaya. The former name is Pamanjungan Sanghyang Padungkukan, which is called Bukit Batagil. At that time, the biggest and most luxurious Pamanjungan was Pamanjungan Kahara Hyang, which was located in Luang Forest, Sangam, or Balay Pamanjungan Mandala Parakan Jati, which is currently used as the Sindang Barang Cultural Village. With the number of Pamanjungan or Kabuyutan in Tatar Sunda, it proves that the religion adopted or the religion of the majority of the Sundanese people in the past is Jati Sunda or Wiwitan Sundanese religion. Raja Salaka Nagara, also Tarumanagara, is a devout adherent of the Sundanese Jati religion or Sunda Wiwitan religion. The temples found in Tatar Sunda are Kengkuang Temple, which is an ancient building evidence of worship of Shiva, and Batujaya Temple in Karawang, which is a complex of stupa buildings prove the same thing. The religion of Buhun is thought to be Sundanese Jati or pure Sundanese religion that has not been mixed by other religions such as Hinduism, Buddhism, Islam and other religions. 255. From the etymology of the language Bu Hun comes from two words, namely Bu and Hun. Bu may be taken from the word Buyut or Kabuyutan, which is a place of worship for the ancestral spirits of the Sundanese people in ancient times, and Hun, which may be taken from the word Ka Ru Hun or ancestors of the Sundanese. Many words in Sundanese are almost similar to the word Buhun. This teaching is still widely held by people living in the Bekasi area. Sarantaun is a Sundanese traditional rice harvest ceremony which is carried out every year. Sarantaun is derived from the Sundanese word saran, which means handing over, giving up, and taun, which means year. Sasarantaun means the handover of the last year to the next year as his successor. In the context of the traditional life of the Sundanese farming community, Sarantaun is a means of thanking God Almighty for all agricultural products carried out this year, hoping that their agricultural output will increase in the coming year. More specifically, the Sarantaun ceremony is an event of handing over agricultural produce in the form of rice produced within 1 year to be stored in a barn, or in Sundanese it is called lute. There are two lutes, namely the main granary, which can be called lute Sijimat, lute Radna Inten, or lute Indun main barn, and lute Pangiring or lute Ludik, small barns. Lut Indun is used as a place to store mother's rice covered in white cloth and pear bapuk covered with black cloth. The rice in both luts is used as seeds or seeds for the next planting season. Lut Pangirang is a place to store rice that is not accommodated in Lut Indun. Sarantan has been carried out from generation to generation since the days of the previous Sundanese kingdom, such as the Pajajaran kingdom. This ceremony begins with the glorification of Nyi Pahachi Sanghyang Asri, the Sundanese goddess of rice. The belief system of the previous Sundanese people was influenced by the cultural heritage of the indigenous people of the archipelago. In Sundanese custom, Pahachi is often associated with Nyi Shri Pahachi or Dewey Paddy. In fact, this is not entirely wrong. In Karita Pantan Luting Kasarang, Sunan Ambu teaches Purba Sari to plant rice. Even in carrying out all activities, it is very thick with requests for permission and prayers to each Pahachi. This is a prayer or supplication. Here an example of a prayer or supplication in cooking rice. Suluna Iya Naranana Pahachi Runtuyan Jadi. Sununa Pahachi disappeared amazed Parakona Pahachi Lukaran Jadi Hauna Pahachi Teak with Pahachi Danu Hau A Supanana Pahachi Kukusan Jadi Dulongnya Pahachi Talaga Jadi. Derivative of Pahachi Pamayang Jadi from Kahona Pahachi Jungjunan Sari. In Sundanese traditional life, it is usually women or a mother who can memorize the names of Pahachi. Because Pahachi is often synonymous with all activities carried out by women. Whether it's planting, cooking, giving birth. Some of Pahachi's names are mentioned in the Karita Pantan Luting Kasarang. 1. Pahachi Murumwi Puta. 2. Pahachi keeps on growing. 3. Pahachi creeping rirang. 4. Pahachi lenkop rirang. 5. Pahachi lenkop hurap. 6. Pahachi lenggong rirang. 7. Pahachi lenggak maya. 8. Pahachi pankar hurap. 9. Pahachi naga jini. 10. Pahachi Jayong Gana. 11. Pahachi Tenho Maya. 12. Pahachi Pangdarat Sari. 13. Pahachi Lenggak Kuning. Plant and livestock fertility. The fertility of these plants is manifested as Nyi Pahachi Sanghyang Asri, the goddess of rice and fertility. His partner was Kuera, the god of prosperity. Both are manifested in Per Abba, Padi Aya, and Per Ambu, Padi Ibu, symbolizing the union of man and woman as a symbol of fertility and family happiness. An annual ceremony called Sarantan Guru Bhumi which is held in Pakuan Pajajaran and in each region. The big ceremony which is once every 8 years or Swindu is called the Sarantan Tutig Galor ceremony or commonly called the Kuera Bhakta ceremony which is carried out specifically in Pakuan. In some villages, the ceremony usually begins with taking holy water from several sacred water sources. Usually the water that is taken comes from 7 springs which are then put together in one container and prayed for and are considered to be lucky and bring blessings. This water was splashed on everyone present at the ceremony to bring blessings. The next ritual is alms cake. Residents who are present scramble to take the cake at Dongdang Paikulan, or Tampa which is believed to give abundant blessings to those who get it. Then the ritual of slaughtering a buffalo, the meat of which is then distributed to the poor and eat tumpeng together. The evening was filled with puppet show. The peak of the Sarantan event is usually opened at 8 o'clock, starting with the Najayak procession, welcoming or picking up rice, then followed by 3 colossal performances, namely the Buying Dance, Badai Angklung, and Green Bean Angklung. The series of events meaning thanksgiving to God were also confirmed through the recitation of prayers delivered alternately by religious leaders. Next, the final activity of Najayak was carried out, namely the handover of the harvested rice from the leaders to the community to be pounded together. Thousands of people attended. Pahachi conception and hierarchical arrangement at the level of Sawarga Loka Manging or Langit. In the end they were involved in this activity, following in the footsteps of the leaders, community leaders who were first invited to pound rice. Dozens of other people competed for grain from the hut entitled Pwahasi Sanghyang Asri. Pahachi Sanghyang Asri. Pahachi is another name for Diwa in Sundanese culture, conception of Pahachi and hierarchical arrangement in the level of Sawarga Loka Manging or Langit, and Sundanese customs. In the Sundanese spiritual context, Pahachi is a projection of the guardian deity in the life of the ancient Sundanese people. In the life of the Sundanese people in ancient times, they were very thick and very close to various Pahachi names. Pahachi is a god or commonly known as the goddess who protects every behavior and activity of the Sundanese people. Pahachi is a subordinate or accomplice to Batara or Buyanga, and Batara or Buyanga is headed by Sunan Ambu. Sunan Ambu is also known as Mahadawi who presides over the Batara and Pahachi. 259. Sunan Ambu is one of the projection of the 5 Pancer Mangkapat. The center of the Mandala Agang is in Sunan Ambu. Sunan Ambu is the center of the 4 cardinal directions which is headed again by Batara or Buyanga. In Karita Pantan Luding Kasarang, Sunan Ambu sent 4 Batara to help Purba Sari, namely, Batara Tua, Batara Seda, Batara Sakti, and Batara Lui. Pahachi in Karita Pantan Luding Kasarang, it is told that there are 40 Pahachi who each have their duties. Sunan Ambu is a figure of a magical woman who is a divine ruler in the Sundanese Buhun belief. But her role is more than that, because her figure is also considered the mother of Sundanese culture. The meaning of Sunan Ambu itself comes from the Sundanese language of Susahunan Ambu. Susahunan is someone who is honored, while Ambu means mother. So it can be interpreted as a glorified mother, Ratu Ibu, or mother goddess, which in Sundanese mythology means mother who cares for the homeland and the environment that must be honored. The name Sunan Ambu can be found in folk stories such as Luding Kasarang and Mundinglaya Dukusuma, which explain that the ruler of heaven is a female figure who has the name Sunan Ambu. The fact that women are the rulers of Kayangan may be a manifestation of the original Sundanese Buhun beliefs before the entry of patriarchal religions such as Hinduism. Even today in Sundanese land, Sunan Ambu still has a place in the hearts of the Sundanese people. It has its own territory that is different from the dwelling places of humans and gods, namely the middle field Kayangan, where it rules over the Pahachi, nymphs, and Buyanga, Bidadara. In West Java, around Garut, there are areas that still staunchly maintain their customs, namely Kampung Naga. The ceremonies that are always carried out by the people of Kampung Naga are the silent ceremony, not culture that came from outside the archipelago. The Sembapi ceremony is carried out by the people of Kampung Naga on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday. According to the view of the people of Kampung Naga, this ceremony is very important and must be carried out, without exception for both men and women. Because of that, if there is a ceremony, the time of implementation will be postponed or accelerated. The implementation of the ceremony of silence is left up to each person, because it is basically an attempt to avoid talking about everything related to customs. Seeing the obedience of Naga people to customary rules, apart from respecting their ancestors, it is also to maintain the mandate and will which if it is violated it is feared that it will cause disaster. Kangkuang Temple is an ancient sacred building of native Indonesian culture located in Kampung Pulo, Kangkuang region, Lilis district, Garut, West Java. Kangkuang Temple is located on a small island which extends from west to east with an area of 16.5 hectares. This small island is located in the middle of Kangkuang Lake. This temple stands on a rectangular plot of land measuring 4.7 by 4.7 meters with a height of 30 centimeters. The building legs that support the Padma, Kumuda, and Pasagi temples are 4.5 by 4.5 meters in size and 1.37 meters high. On the east side there is a viewer where an ascending staircase is 1.5 meters long and 1.26 meters wide. The body of the temple building is 4.22 by 4.22 meters in square shape with a height of 2.49 meters. On the north side there is an entrance which measures 1.56 meters, height by 0.6 meters, width. The top of the temple has 2 levels. A rectangle measuring 3.8 by 3.8 meters with a height of 1.56 meters and 2.74 by 2.74 meters with a height of 1.1 meters. Inside there is a room measuring 2.18 by 2.24 meters which is 2.55 meters high. At the base there is a basin measuring 0.4 by 0.4 meters which is 7 meters deep. Among the remains of the temple building, was also found a statue with a cross-legged position on a double Padmasana. The left leg is crossed flat with the base facing the inside of the right thigh. Right foot facing down on the plinth. In front of the left foot is the head. Cow, Nandi, whose ears point forward. With the existence of this Nandi head, Experts think that this is a statue of Shiva. Both hands look up above the thighs. On his body there is a belly trimmer, a chest trimmer and an ear ornament. The state of this statue is damaged, the face is flat, the hands and both wrists are gone. Face width 8 centimeters, shoulder width 18 centimeters, waist width 9 centimeters, Padmasana 38 centimeters, height 14 centimeters, plinth 37 centimeters. And 45 centimeters, height 6 centimeters and 19 centimeters, height 41 centimeters. Kengkuang is evidence of the original teachings of the archipelago that worship Brahmana, Vishnu and Shiva. This is not Hinduism but the teachings that underlie Hindu, Buddhist and Jainama teachings in India and even the teachings that underlie the understanding of sun worship around the world. Go to section 6. By Santo Saba.